Hi and welcome back. Today I thought I will make another abstract watercolor painting in my art journal, and this is my color sketchbook where I record all the color combinations I like. I find inspiration in books, magazines, or online on Instagram or on Pinterest, and this time I decided to pick this color combination, and I will use these colors to create my spread. I'm working in a watercolor journal from Kunst und Papier. That's my go-to journal I'm using, and I really like the quality of it. It's perfect as a sketchbook for watercoloring. I can't tell you exactly the color names I'm using. I have different brands. I usually use the ones from Rosa Gallery, Van Gogh, White Nights, and Schminke. I also have the Mijello Mission Gold palette here, which I really love, but I haven't used it for a while now. These pastel colors are from White Nights, and they have a range of pastel watercolors. They are more on the opaque side, and they are a little bit like gouache, I would say. I'm just painting squares, and I just alternate between the colors that are on my palette. The green I'm using here is the May green from Schminke. It's one of my favorite colors. For this step I'm using the Da Vinci Casaneo brush, which has no fine tip. It's a little bit more rounded, and I like this for shapes, especially if I don't want to have hard edges. I really love this process. It's so calming and relaxing. I usually do this to get myself started. If I'm not in a creative field, then I do something like this. Or I do this when there's not much time, but I want to create something. Usually I use 2 to 3 steps to finish such a spread. The first layer usually takes up to 10 minutes, and the next layers only need about 5 minutes, so this spread can be done in about 15 to 20 minutes with some space in between to let in everything dry. So it's perfect to start this in the morning and finish it up in the evening, or to just work on it while you're doing your housework. I also do this often while I'm cooking. Then I have some minutes in between where something has to get ready, and then in this time I go up to my studio and just add some accents here and there. In my next layer, I'm going in with the Derwent Inktense pencils. These are my favorite watercolor pencils because they are highly pigmented and very intense in color, and they are spreading around with water very quickly. But of course you can do this with any kind of water-soluble pencils. From time to time I dip the nib of the pencils into water so I get more of the pigments. And I also like that you can use them dry, or on a dry background you can use them wet, or on a wet background, and every time you get a different texture with it. I'm not only using the Inktense pencils, I also use some of the graphite ones. These are colored graphite pencils, which are also water soluble. If I'm journaling something on my page, I usually do this in a very messy kind of style because I don't want anyone to read it, and also I sometimes don't need to read it again. I just sometimes want to write down some words as if I would say it to a good friend. I just make some scribbly lines and I paint some leaves because I like leafy shapes. I'm always inspired by nature. Um, that's what I love. It reminds me of my childhood, which I loved, and I felt safe, and it was a wonderful time. I was a lot with my grandparents, and we have been a lot of outside and in nature and in the forest. And what I remind from this is what I love to paint. I remind the birds singing outside in the morning, and I love everything botanical because my grandparents had a very big garden with lots of vegetables and fruits and also flowers. And that's also what I have now. We also have a very big garden with tons of flowers and everything in it, and it's not a pretty garden. We have a really wild garden, and that's what I really love. I'm now using the Neocolor II crayons. I just add some more color to intensify them, or I just make some scribbly lines and shapes. It's just an intuitive play. It's almost like a child would paint or would draw. It's super relaxing without any pressure. I don't go for any goals. I don't want to make something special. I just want to play, and usually the results are pretty, I think. So there is no need to worry about your work. And with this process, you can really get into a flow, although it sometimes only takes 5 minutes, but it's something that avoids stress and that calms you down. It's like kind of a meditation. I now add some splatters. You know that I always do this. Splatters add another layer on top of a painting. It gives it more contrast and depth, and that's what I love about it. And I also love the playful aspect of these splatters and the dynamic they bring to a painting. Using a really dark color against the others brings in more contrast, which also brings in more depth and interest. I usually don't use black. I often use Payne's gray, or I'm mixing my own black with a dark warm red and a dark blue. I let this dry and then I come back and add some final stamping. I just pick the stamps that are sitting next to me or those that I feel fit into one of the squares. And here I'm using my absolute favorite texture stamp, these numbers. I think they go great with every kind of project. And I'm also using inks that have similar colors to the ones I have picked out before. The leaf I'm using here is from the Carved collection, and I really like this style combined with the watercolor background. If you're interested in more abstract watercolors, just check out my recent videos. I did a few of them, and I will also link some older ones to the end of this video. To finish everything up and make it look cohesive, I come back in with the crayons. And for even higher contrast, I add in some white. That's what I love about the crayons. They are pretty opaque and you can use the white. I feel the water-soluble white is more opaque than the ones from the Neocolor I. What I prefer against the Neocolors for white opacity are oil pastels. You can also use those. They are usually even more opaque than the water-soluble crayons. And here I finally add some highlights with a Posca paint pen. Yes, and that's my page for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will see us next time. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye!